We've brought you government officials and corporate executives, and this week we're doing things a little bit different. We're talking to Pauline Kiraithe, an HR expert, on what it takes to get to the highest echelons of a career. This is She Means Business. I am your host, Claire Munde. Pauline, you know, people graduate from university every year in their thousands, but then people are struggling to get jobs. And then there are others who think that, you know, getting the degrees, the master's degrees, PhD is not what you need to rise in the career level. So tell us, how important are academic qualifications when you're trying to rise up the career ladder?
I always say, yes, there's a space for you to get the knowledge, to do the job, but there's also space for you to get the experience, to do the job well. But we cannot rely on just experience without the knowledge. I always tell people that, yes, you can be able to do a job well out of experience, but the only problem is you don't know the why behind why you do what you do. So that's why why people need to go back to school to get those credentials, to get the degrees, the masters, because what it does is that it enriches your knowledge of the craft that you are in. So knowledge, there's a space for knowledge, and there's also a space for experience. And when you blend the two, it even gets better.
I'd like us to talk about executive levels. You've been an HR director for decades long. What are some of those traits that people look for when hiring this top talent?
Yes, for key talent, I tell people, you showing up to work 8 to 5, doing your normal job and what you were hired for, that won't take you to the top. The thing that will take you to the top is what is the kind of value you add to the organization that you are in. So I always tell employees, when you're in an organization, you need to understand what is the key problem or the key challenge that the organization is trying to solve. Because every business exists to solve problems. So you should ask yourself, anytime you're in an organization, how am I adding to the greater purpose of the organization I'm working for? So the people who are seen to be adding value and solving problems in organizations are the people who will grow with their careers and will get the promotions, and also get the visibility within the organization. For me, I always say it's a whole package, and actually it's not even the hard skills that take you to the top. It's actually the soft skills, that thing of wanting to go that extra mile to help an organization to make a difference. So for me, what even helped me in my career growth and trajectory was, one thing I'd also always told myself is, I never leave an organization until I've added value. So every organization I worked with, I would always go in, find out what is the big challenge, and usually many people avoid the big challenge because it's a lot of work. Usually those projects are a lot of work. Find space for yourself and see how to contribute. When there's success, you also succeed. You understand? So those are the things that help people grow up their career ladder, and you find people are just moving up and up.
Now, you've talked about soft skills being very important, the hard skills, but soft skills being very critical. Tell us, how does someone build those soft skills? Because there are people who sometimes are very skilled at what they do, but then, you know, that maybe hard to work with, or maybe not very likable or whatnot. So how does someone start building it? And is it something that is buildable, or you're born with it? It's innate?
No, it's actually, you can totally build it. So the first place as you start this journey is, first of all, expose yourself to discovering yourself. And actually find out from your peers, and even your colleagues. Let them give you feedback first, about your work, how well you work with them, if they find it, if they get to learn from you, if they find it a pleasure working with you, so get feedback from your peers, from your supervisors, and even from people who report it to you. That's a good way of getting feedback of how people are experiencing you. A good space for me that I used to use was my performance appraisal. So ask your supervisor also to give you that feedback. And then once you get that feedback, what you need to do is you actually invest in yourself, personal development. Yeah. So for me, I always tell people I coach and people I train that personal development is a must for anyone who wants to build their career. You have to do it annually. So you actually have to have a budget annually, and not where you're waiting for your organization to train you. This is your personal budget to train yourself. So like for me, since I started working, I have always trained myself every year. So what you do is, the areas that you're given feedback, those are now the areas you go and look for training in. Yeah. So I remember there's a time for me, even communication was an issue. Yeah. I remember there's a time for me, when you're starting out in leadership, you actually don't know how to lead. So you go and get trained. Yeah. There are training courses on leadership. Then also aspects of leading with emotional intelligence. Those are also new skill areas which you can actually get evaluated on. You get to know where you are, how you're playing at it, and then it also gives you tips on how to develop yourself. Yeah. So the thing is, you start with just doing your own self-evaluation from your peers. Then you also get some tools. We also now use psychometric tools that can actually give you your personality type, can tell you actually your strengths of your personality and your weaknesses. So the more self-aware you become, the more you're able to manage yourself more. Yeah, the people you see for me, the reason even why I coach people is because I saw a lot of people who destroyed their careers just by lack of just knowing how to manage yourself. Yeah, you actually are not aware of your personality. Yeah, many leaders have this personality called the choleric personality, and they are like a bull. It's like a bull in a China China's shop. But the thing is, they are the best executors. They get results. They're very goal-oriented. So if you're a choleric and you have spent time in developing yourself, you now know how to tap into that aspect, but you're able to still bring in people with you.
Now, I'll want us to talk about women and leadership, but before that, you talked about asking for feedback. And yes, the appraisal is one way to get it, but for people in leadership, and you talked about this in your book, Owning Your Career, sometimes people say, we're open to feedback, tell us where we need to work, but that's not the truth. And if you do point it out, it will be a problem. So how do you really go about getting real, honest feedback?
Real-time feedback.
Yeah, especially as a leader.
As a leader. So it depends on your leadership style. So you will really have to work on your leadership style as a leader. And what you do is you're going to try and make your meetings, even within your department, as open as possible. So the thing is, you cannot say I'm open, and when they see you coming into the office, you are closed up, you don't want to say hello to people, and you come in and you close the door. Yeah. You're not open. So by your actions, we can tell if you're open or not. So leaders actually have to work on themselves. Yeah, because everybody's watching you. Yeah, everybody's watching you, and everybody's picking up the cues from your behavior. Yeah, it's not what you say, it's what you do. Yeah. Yeah, so for me, what worked for me is you open up the sessions, the meetings, the normal follow-up weekly meetings. Yeah, open it up, and opening it up means it doesn't have to be you to lead it. Rotate the leadership. Yeah, be the last one to speak. Pick other people's ideas. That's how now you're bringing them all out to speak up. Yeah, I always say that by the time you're done with your team needs to be as good as you. You have failed as a leader if you still always come out on top alone. You understand? Yeah. And so you see, as you keep opening up those sessions, you're growing leadership in everybody. You know that? Yeah. And through those sessions, now you find people are becoming more freer. Yeah. Because anyway, you're already now forced to speak up. Yeah. Yeah. So you find people are speaking up more. They're actually getting more engaged in the work that they are doing. Yeah. And you're getting feedback. So by the way, the thing of believing that you're the only one who can lead the meetings, it doesn't have to happen. And once you now devolve power, because it's actually devolving power, you find other new leaders emerge. Yeah, and then now you've already opened up the work environment. So people are actually more open now to actually say when good things are happening, and when they have queries or they have challenges, they'll be able to speak up. Yeah, And I think just also that physical, keeping the door opened in the workspace, very important. A lot of people think it doesn't work, but it's actually a psychological thing. You cannot say you're open and your door is closed. Keep it open. Let people be able to walk in at any time. Yeah. And then the other thing is also have sessions where you just go out with your team. Let them see you not only in the office. Let them see you in other settings. And then let them also relate with you like a human being. Yeah? Yeah. And for me, I always tell people that you also have to see the teams that you work with as human beings first. Yeah? I always tell also leaders that you cannot be a leader if you don't know your team members, if they have children, if the children are not okay that week, then you're failing as a leader. Yeah, because the truth is they'll not be able to engage with you that week. Yeah? So you're even as good as letting them go in home to sort out their issues. Yeah, so I think those are the tips that help first humanize you as a leader, but also open up conversations in the workspace that make it now much easier for people to speak up and give you feedback, for them to engage with the organization and the challenges that are there. And you'll find once you have staff engagement, when your employees are engaged, employees can work until midnight without asking questions, without asking for overtime, because they love what they do. Yeah? And people work for people. They love. You understand? People will give you 100% if they actually love how you are managing them, how you're leading them. Yeah, and if you're actually aspiring them for greater heights, that you're actually drawing out the best out of them.
Now, you talked about children, and I'd like us to talk about that. In very many of these She Means Business interviews, a lot of the women say that some of the challenges they faced is during that early stage of raising children. You get children, you come back from maternity leave, you hit a snag, and you wonder, how do you just balance that? And you said that thing about being human, understanding that if the child is sick, you're not going to be there. So how does a woman navigate that space of rising up and at the same time understanding that there are many dynamics in the workplace?
Yes. And I can tell you even from my own experience, yes, carrying children and working is no joke, sir. It's a delicate balance, because the thing is you want the best out of both. Yeah, you're trying to be productive in the workspace, but you also want your child to also have the best. Yeah. And especially when they are young, gosh, it's a real challenge. So I'm happy that now many workspaces have brought in flexi time. And thank God, post-COVID, there's even working from home. Those are the things that have really helped. Yeah? Because nowadays, even as an entrepreneur, before, if you were on a call and a child passed by, people would think you're unprofessional.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was... we had separated the human being from their life. But now I think post-COVID, everything now merged, and we realized, by the way, you're one person, and we need to take care of all your facets of what makes you. Yeah, so the thing of trying to divorce that you're a parent when you come to the workspace, that's obviously not realistic. So I think the flexi time, the working from home is good. I think later reporting times, so like for me, the other thing that I had also facilitated for women who are working and have gotten babies is also for them to be able to report later, so that at least, because maybe long nights, maybe the child was up the whole night, you can report at 10 so that you can now leave later at 6 when even the traffic has gone down, you understand?
Yeah.
So such flexi time, also helps mothers. I remember even there's a time we didn't even have breastfeeding rooms. I remember when I was in the media, I was asking my team members, the thing is, I tell people, many women in the workspace don't actually communicate their challenges in the workspace. So before the breastfeeding rooms came in, a lot of the women who were in the workspace, I asked them, how did you used to express? You wouldn't believe the answers I got.
Yeah, the toilet.
In the toilet. Yeah. And you know what question I asked them? When was the last time your meal was served in the toilet?
I know.
Yeah? Others, they used to do it in cars, in basements.
Yeah. In the heat.
Horrible. Horrible. Yeah, and then even there was no place to store it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was petrified when I had those answers. Yeah, because for me, I wondered why it took so long for them to actually say, actually talk about their issues. But now in retrospect, I know it was always seen when a woman gets pregnant, you're seen to be unproductive, that you're not of value in the team, because obviously you lag a bit, for maybe 1.5 years from pregnancy to when the child is young. So I think all this awareness now that there are a lot of challenges, especially when the child is below 6 months. So we really need to support the woman. So all those interventions help.
You've talked from the perspective of the HR person, what they should do to facilitate the woman. Now from that woman, you've talked about speaking up, and that's an issue that many struggle with.
Yes.
You don't speak up. So how does that woman ensure that she's also getting the best for herself during this stage, and even in every transition in her career?
I think it's heavily dependent on the leadership in the organization. So I think if we are able to create an enabling environment for employees, they will be able to speak up. Because the truth is, and I was in HR for a long time, but if you don't tell me what your challenge is, sometimes I might miss it out. You understand? And the truth is, there are some certain journeys, if you have not walked through, you will not know. So for me, until the time when I got a child is when I realized actually expressing milk is an issue. Do you understand?
And
that's when I went and asked the ladies. But before that, you see, if it was not an issue for me, or it wasn't something that I thought of, it did come to the fore. So I always tell ladies, if you don't speak up, people cannot imagine the challenges that you have. So I always encourage women to speak up. And now that's why there's a lot of initiatives to talk to women and develop women in the workspace. A lot of women leadership development programs to help women speak up, because there are many more challenges. Simple things like even in a meeting, executive presence. The thing of when a woman speaks in a meeting and when a man speaks in the meeting, the reaction. How most of the time when a woman speaks in a meeting, the idea could be good, but people won't pick it up. But when a man speaks, they pick it up immediately. So what is the difference? So those are the things that organizations now need to start investing, so that we can now empower women to speak up. Because for the longest time, they've been quiet, they've been shy. Also our cultural influences, in terms of how women have been brought up. I remember when I was growing up, I was in a Catholic school. So the nun told us one day, ladies are to be seen and not to be heard. Can you imagine? And then I come to corporate, speak up. So can you see it's an opposite? So you actually have to unlearn what you had learned before.
Is that true for this generation though? Gen Zs and what
the
are
Gen
they?
Zs. I'm so glad there's Gen Zs.
And
because now they are bringing in a new
millennials.
Yes, at least they are bringing in a new perspective. Because for them and the alphas, for them they are not going to suffer. And which I love, because for them they've grown up, they've been more exposed. There's more information, and they've seen people speaking up. And then the thing is, they're also being brought up by more exposed parents who are enabling them to speak up. You understand? So for them, at least they have it better.
I want you to give us those insider tips. When somebody, and women especially, are coming to the negotiation table, what are some of the things that they should be negotiating for?
Ask for the basics, for the key basics. So it's not just salary. At least ensure that you have a medical, ensure that you're taking care of your retirement. So ensure that you have a good, at least, package in terms of your pension. And if it's at senior level where it's contract based, ensure you have also a good gratuity package. Personal development, very important. So if you can actually be able to get them to commit to some training every year, very important. I tell people you will only earn to the extent that you have developed yourself. So if your last training was when you were in university, and 10 years have passed, you will remain stagnated. And a lot of people wonder why certain people move faster in their career. Personal development. So that one is key, and you have to negotiate for it. And then also ask about the structure within the department that you're joining, so that you'll see if there's space for you to grow. Because the other thing is, people negotiate for jobs, you enter, then you realize oh my God, I'm stuck, because there are no other opportunities. Yeah, so the other thing is also to think more long term, look at what other opportunities are there. Yeah, and also ask them actually in that interview, what are the possible growth paths for me before you even enter, so that you don't get in and get stuck. And that's how you find certain people have moved a role, and in a year or two they've moved again, and you're wondering why. It's because they got in and discovered. Yeah, so even career opportunities, yeah, within the organization, very important, so that you can now start thinking forward. Yeah, so now this is where you have the negotiating power before you get in. So ask for those things. So you also express your career objectives and your career plans going forward, yeah, as you negotiate, so that now they know the kind of person they're hiring and if they can be able to accommodate you.
So you've talked about negotiating before you get in. So there are some people who are not as fortunate as that. So you've gotten into an organization and then you realize, oh my goodness, actually I had shortchanged myself. How do you now bring that conversation and say, you know what, I want to renegotiate my package?
When you're in, it gets harder to do that. Yeah, I'll tell you that. Yeah, when you're already in, it gets harder. So what I would advise you to do is, first of all, do what you were hired to do, yeah, and do it very well. And then now what you're going to do is you're going to use now your appraisal process. The appraisal process, the performance management system, that's another area for negotiation. Yeah, so every time you get your yearly KPIs, yeah, you commit to delivering them. As you deliver them, yeah, every time, like for me, what I used it to actually grow my career. So every time I would tell my boss, okay, so these are the priorities for the department this year. Okay, and I'm happy to take them up. I will commit to delivering this, but by the end of the year, if I hit them, this is what I would be expecting. So you're negotiating, yeah, you're negotiating. You say, for me, I would like to maybe get a promotion the next 1-2 years if I deliver well on my role. So the thing is, you commit on your side what you will be able to add, the value that you want to add to the organization. You demonstrate that you have the capability and the focus to deliver it. And then now what you do is, as you deliver, your boss is seeing, isn't it? So that gives them more confidence to want to actually now push for your promotions. Yeah, you understand? And that's why you find certain people get into an organization and they're able to move faster than even people who have been there for a long time, because now you're negotiating using your performance appraisal. So that's another path. You can use the appraisal system to renegotiate and realign you back to where maybe you realized you erred. Yeah, but don't try to jump out again. So that now you look for another organization to go and look for what you missed out. Now that doesn't also look good on your CV. Yeah, you know the way people move after CG 3 months, 6 months. No. So for me, I always say, you know what? Yes, you've made the error. Yeah, remember, maybe you might have negotiated the money well. It's just that you didn't negotiate the career moves, isn't it? That's fine. That can be mended through the performance appraisal and performance management route. Yeah. But you have to show some stability. I always tell people, show some stability and show that you can deliver. You only speak. I tell people, results speak. Once you deliver, imagine you can get whatever you want.
And you're saying don't jump from one career to another. One job to another. You know, there are people who say that these days people are not staying 5-10 years in a job. So what is the time?
I'm not saying you stay 10 years. That one I'm also not for it. Yeah. But I always tell people, before you move, ask yourself, what is the value I've added? Because jobs, careers are grown through track record. Do you have a track record? What is the value that you added in the previous organization to justify you to be ready to move to the next? So you're not just moving for the sake of, or you're just moving until I want to add CG 20,000 on top of your salary. Those are called very unstrategic moves. Yeah. So when you move, let it be a strategic move. And when you're moving, have track record that will enable you to now negotiate better. Yeah. And that's why I say, for me, on average, 2 to 3 years on a role, you will have delivered. You will have had good track record to speak about. Yeah. And I can tell you, in the long run, even when you're out of the career path and you even want to do your own consulting, those are the same stories that will be practical for you. Yeah, so I always tell employees, don't waste your time in organizations where you think, oh, I'm unhappy with this organization, I'm just going to clock 8 to 5. You're wasting your time. It's your career you're wasting. So the thing is, make it meaningful. Anytime you're in an organization, be delivering.
You've heard it from Pauline. Have a track record and be of value and leave a legacy wherever you work. This has been She Means Business. I have been your host, Claire Munde. Until next time, have a good one.